This is Brownie's Podcast!
Oh, no. What happened?
I felt so sorry for Carlton supporters.
Whoa!
They don't deserve this 2 weeks in a row.
Shit!
It's so disappointing. They should be in the finals. They should have knocked off Melbourne, and they should have knocked off Collingwood, two of the form teams of the competition.
You could feel them tightening up, though, in that last quarter, JB.
Well, I couldn't. My phone was tightening up because, like the rest of Marvel Stadium, that I was commentating
you were.
Sydney, it was half-time, 4 minutes to go. I get down onto the ground to do the half-time report, and clearly me, along with 25,000 other people, are trying to access KO to get on and watch the last 4 minutes. But because 25,000 people are trying to look at their phone and access the same website, we couldn't get the vision up. So we're in a black hole for the last 4 minutes. So I didn't know what had actually happened.
How's this for a very concerning stat? Do you know that Carlton are the only team in history to be in the 8 for every round of the season and then miss finals? The only team ever. Only team ever.
But they're still going places, though. There's a lot of upside.
Yeah.
I know that song's crashing, but you know, they've got a lot of stars, a lot of young stars. Sam Walsh didn't play. They were knocked about with injury throughout the year, especially key defenders and the midfielders late in the year. But there's always a team that comes from outside the top 8 into the top 4. They're progressing nicely. It would have been nice to experience finals for this group, but it's not the end of the road for them.
We won't bang on about it too much, but that last entry into 50, what was going on?
Bad kick.
It was just nothing.
Well, Durden just had to kick it. It was an easy 20-metre kick. Easy. It's easy for us to judge from the outside. However, the kick was easy just to Mackay. And then Mackay just goes back and either he kicks a point or a goal. It was just a young player, hasn't been in that situation before, rushing that kick. Those inside 50 kicks, you don't need to rush. You just let things unfold and let a forward open up.
But 2 minutes before that, you got your leader, Doherty, kicking on the other half-forward flank. He put it out on the full. So clearly the moment, the pressure that builds, and you can all feel it as a spectator, they were feeling it too.
How about Bossy, though, mate? What a year.
He had a great year. Unfortunately, not playing finals, but he still remains very composed on the bench, doesn't he?
He does.
He's done very well as coach, so they're heading in the right direction. They'll learn, they'll educate on the back of it.
Wait, are we celebrating a team that's missing finals?
We're celebrating Bossy, you mean prick.
Are we kidding?
Absolutely not.
All right, let's start celebrating Port, shall we? We finished
Port,
14th.
yes.
Beautiful, baby.
That's right.
We're flying, lads. We are
You've
flying.
won one flag. You've been in the competition
future
for
looks good,
25
mate.
years.
Future looks good.
You're a powerhouse, and you've won one flag.
Ever since we put Brodie on the O in podcast, he's been piping up too much.
Yeah, he's changed. I'll tell you who we can celebrate.
Yeah.
Jamie Elliott. Because the Blues train got robbed. He's
a train thief.
Do you know who he is?
He's a train robber.
He's Ronnie Biggs, the great train robber.
Train robber. I like that. Biggsy.
His last 2 goals were clutch. Like, he has just got ice running through his veins in big moments.
And the guy who's second to him probably for clutch and the youngest player out in the field, Nick Dacos. His influence in the last 5 minutes was unbelievable. He knows what to do in those situations. The way he was able to move the ball from one end of the ground to the other before the McCreary goal, he touched the ball 3 times. He was the main reason why they were able to get that goal.
How does he have that awareness for that age? Can you think of a player that's had that ever?
Well, it's quite amazing, isn't it? When you look at the example of the 2 key forwards for Carlton in the last 5 minutes, or the last, say, 10 minutes of the game. Curnow plays on when Pendlebury's standing right in front of him. And then Harry Mackay decides to have a set shot from 55 metres out, hard up against the fence on the wrong side. You just go, they're not great decisions under pressure.
No, they're not. Do you reckon that the Dacos boys have sat next to their dad, right, through their whole journey towards where they are now, and they just inherently pick things up? Like, you know, you're sitting there, you'd be sitting there with Jackie boy, and you go, oh, should have done this. Long kick down the line there, son. You know, take some time off the clock. And they've just over the course of their
they're actually absorbing it?
Well, they have to be, because
through
you can't.
osmosis.
Because you can't go out there and do what they do as consistently as they do it without having an absolute understanding of their surroundings and what what they have been able to achieve.
I haven't seen them do an innie-outie, though, from the boundary, though. Have you? Like, I know innie-outies is something else, but an innie-outie kick. Is there another word for that?
What are you talking about?
You know those inside-outie, they go one way and then they curl around the other way.
Little dribbles.
I haven't seen any of the Dacos boys do that.
Not yet.
So he hasn't shown them.
All right, Jonathan.
No, I've taught you everything you know,
Except
but not everything that I know.
You're not allowed to. We all need to talk before you get to respond. How were Brisbane?
Oh, that's so bad.
I booked a table at the Imperial in the city, like a great pub, big table for abs. A game that was over at quarter time.
They were insipid, weren't they?
Jesus.
Nothing brings me more joy because I know how upset it makes Jonathan than when Brisbane are bad. Like it just rattles him to the core.
God.
And again, he thinks he was like a fearless leader and all this kind of stuff. And just to see them crumble brings me so much joy.
Over to you, John.
Well, rightly or wrongly, the word vulnerability got brought up at Brecky's show this morning. And I said, this term is now overrated. It's so yesterday. And you know what? When I look into the forward line, I see three big, strapping key forwards for the Brisbane Lions. I don't want to hear the word vulnerability, okay? I want my key forwards to be killers.
Yep.
And at the moment, we just haven't got that. We haven't got that presence.
So be vulnerable at home all you want, but as soon as you get over that white line,
Wow. Voss wasn't vulnerable. Scott wasn't vulnerable.
No.
Hey, what
It's the
about
only way
Leppard?
to
Was
be
he
successful.
vulnerable? Only way to be successful. So vulnerability can right off.
Yep.
As far as I'm
Pikey
concerned.
was vulnerable, but at nightclubs in the alleyway over a dart, he'd open up to you.
He would.
But on the field, he'd crush your damn head.
That's Hipwood, Danaher and McStay you're eyeballing right now.
Absolutely. Time to stand up and be counted. You know, we had more inside 50s than Melbourne. We had 58 to 50 inside 50 count. But anyway, they were disappointing.
for
The
the whole
midfield was
game,
poor.
you had more
Harris
inside 50.
Andrews looks like he's sleepwalking at the moment.
Whoa.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like,
Keep going, mate. Keep
he's
going while you're on a roll. Anyone else you got in your sights?
Well, it's the worst I've seen young Starcevic play.
Whoa.
Because he got
Another drive-by.
He's a star.
Shoot someone else. Come on.
Well, you've got to question the midfield there. Capability.
Oh!
The whole midfield.
Well, and what Reece Matheson, honestly, how are you going to go out
Whoa!
and send Reece Matheson out?
Put a bullet in face.
Well, no, just to go head-to-head against Clayton Oliver, arguably the best midfield in the competition, just go head-to-head.
Give Reece
When
another
week,
one.
When the week before,
He's still breathing.
the week before, you've decided to shut down the captain of St Kilda, Jack Steele, and done an unbelievable job. So how the coaching staff allowed...
The coaching staff!
Coaching
How the
staff.
coaching staff allowed Reece Matheson to run around and say, righto, mate, what we're going to do, we're going to let Clayton Oliver run one way, we're going to let you run the other way and see who wins.
What about the water runners? The people running the water?
I thought Grant Birchall's messages out to the players was slow.
Yeah, mate, Birch is trained off.
Mate,
The trainers looked average, didn't they?
it's wild that Tigers are suddenly... It's at the Gabba, but
Oh, shit.
they're favourites, man. How has this happened?
So they should be.
So-
They're playing good footy, the Tigers.
They're playing good footy. I'm not getting paid by fakes to say all this, by the way, but I was very frustrated. But the Tigers, the sleeping giant, aren't they? Their form lately has been terrific. And, of course, we've got the great Mr. September, the greatest Mr. September, Dusty Martin coming in. Tom Lynch will be fine. How good's Lynch been? You could argue All-Australian form. Well, not All-Australian form. You could argue he made a late run for the All-Australian team.
20 goals in the last 4 weeks.
Jesus.
20 goals. He leads the comp in contested marks. He's been massive. In fact, he could be the player of the finals. He could shape the finals.
What needs to happen for Pies Tigers for us to see that? So they both have to win,
They're on the
right?
other side of the draw, unfortunately. So
So nothing.
The
So they
Tigers-
got to meet in the grand final.
Tigers are on the Melbourne and Sydney side. So if the Tigers beat Brisbane, or the winner of Brisbane Tigers plays the loser of Melbourne Sydney, and then the other side of the draw is Collingwood Geelong.
Let's go to the... Yeah, you go.
I dead set think, so I went out last night just for a couple of beers and went down Richmond, down Swan Street. Right?
Chockers?
Chockers full of Collingwood players. I reckon
What?
that they shower at the G and go straight to Public House.
Really?
That's what I reckon.
Oh, because they got a long break too,
They've
so
got-
they can go out and enjoy
They're all there.
themselves.
They're all there.
Well, apparently half the AFL is at the Electric Lady Lounge.
Yeah, last night.
Or is it, or is it Electric?
Yeah.
It's just called electric. Jeez,
Okay,
you
well,
sound
it used to
old.
be called Electric Lady,
You
Lady
just- you
Lounge.
sound so
Back in the
Electric.
90s when I went there. No, but apparently half the competition was there.
Mate, everyone was out last night. All the North boys, all the Hawks boys,
Oh, mate, they're on
the
Mad
Pies.
Monday. They're on Mad Monday today.
Yeah.
Oh, they would be having a great time.
Yesterday, I was at a function, right, handing out big checks to people. $500,000 I handed out yesterday.
What is this dodgy? What's happening?
No, it's
here?
all legit. It's all legit.
Okay.
Through fantasy football. Did you know there's a whole market out there of people that they don't necessarily love footy, but they love the analytical side of things, and they put players in their team to score points.
Like in Moneyball.
So when they watch the footy, and it was one of the greatest games that we've seen yesterday, 1 point deciding it, they didn't give a about the actual result.
So, Dogs,
of
these
Collingwood
nerds...
and Carlton. They wanted marks, kicks, tackles, because they gather points in their fantasy team.
These nerds are seeing numbers when they watch footy.
Yes.
Jesus.
And then when they see numbers,
Yes.
they make bulk cash. The winner won $150,000.
What?
Second was $75,000. Third was $50,000. I was handing out these checks left, right, and centre.
Let's go to the game JB was broadcasting from. Saints Sydney. Now, I love it when an exhausted player has a microphone stuffed into their face. I love it that if they drop F-bombs, it's okay. Like, it's the only time in live television where no one freaks out.
Well, Dan Hanbury's just retired, and he played well, actually. He can still cut it at the highest level, but he was emotional because he thought, this is probably my last game.
With me, Dan, a deep breath, some beautiful moments there with your former Sydney Swans teammates and your former Sydney Swans coach. How fitting is it that you played the side you won a flag with?
Yeah, it's pretty special. Sorry.
I love it so much.
Yeah, he's about to cry. He's about to get emotional, so he just had to drop the F-bomb in to put the brakes on.
But before we go, when you guys see your current players out, right? You two are two legends of the game, we'll put, right? When you see them out at a bar, and like, do they have to, like, almost like the Godfather, pay like a little bit of homage? Like, if you're at the venue and you're on top of the food chain, do they just have to come up and go, "Oh, g'day, mate, yeah, good to see you, mate," before, going about their business?
I expect them to buy a drink. Absolutely.
And just present it to you in hand and go, "Beautiful, thanks very much, mate."
Yes, thanks. Don't say anything. Just say respect.
Yeah,
Just
see,
walk
mate, I
away.
think they need to. It's like the Godfather.
Well, Kyle Hardigan had to get me into a certain area. I couldn't get in there myself, so I was relying
It's
on
a bit
Kyle.
like Pang the other night. Pang was at a kebab joint at the end of the night, and a bloke just walked up. And he didn't say anything, and just said, "Mate, I'm a big fan of yours," and gave him a bag of potato cakes and dim sims.
Did he eat them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben Rutten. The Bombers just did a number on this man. What a joke.
The Essendon board. They made a move, and unfortunately for them, it didn't come off, and it's just left a trail of destruction in its wake.
It's a disaster.
I didn't think it was untenable from Truck's side of things. You're an adult. These things happen sometimes. If he wanted to stay, I think that he could have.
Yeah.
But clearly the club, they didn't want him. They didn't want him. Once
Has
they
he
missed-
lost the players, you reckon?
No. I think the players are a big fan of him,
Right.
or a fan of him, but it was just the uncompetitive appearances the last few weeks. But I thought, look, at the end of the day, the club obviously made the wrong decision not informing on the Monday that they were talking to Clarkson. However, there was nowhere to go after that. Trust had been broken. So the club knew that they'd made a mistake, and there was nowhere to go but sack him and pay him out. You know what I mean? Like, that couldn't go. That was untenable moving forward, because clearly then the players would go, well, you don't have the support of the board.
Yeah.
So if something happens early next year, you can easily then lose the players. They had no choice, Dog.
Well, it's been
I
nearly
think
20
what they-
years since they've won a final. Since they've won
It
one.
has, yeah, it has been nearly 20 years, no doubt about it. What they need to do, they were so keen on Alistair Clarkson, which some of the board members were months ago, they need to jump in the Alistair Clarkson sweepstakes a lot earlier than that. And unfortunately for them, it just hasn't happened. They've said they want an experienced coach. You feel like it needs an experienced coach. It's almost like back in 2005 when Jason Dunstall, even though he's an ex-player, was charged with cleaning up the Hawthorn Football Club. And Jace lost some friendships over this. He had to come in and just clean the joint out and say, look, what we've been doing, old Hawthorn, is not working anymore. So he sacked a lot of people, including his friends, and he went with a coach that was off the radar in Alistair Clarkson and changed the trajectory of the football club. It feels as if it needs a reset like that. I'm not sure who the person is, but you need to go through with a brush, a broom, and go through the Essendon Footy Club.
Because-
I know, Dog, is that a fair comparison?
No, it is, yeah, because clearly mediocrity has just crept into that footy club.
for 2 decades.
This is a mindset, right? So Jeff Kennett cops a lot of criticism from a lot of people, right? But every single year, the start of round one, he would come in, he would collectively call a meeting in the players' lounge out there at Waverley, and he'd get the staff, he'd get the players, he'd get the coaches, and he would say, you know, in his voice, Jeffrey Kennett, you know, I am here as the president, responsible for the 80,000 members that we have, and every single year that we don't win a premiership, it's a failed year for this football club. Make no mistakes, we're here for one reason, and that is to win premierships, not play finals, not make top 8. It's to win flags. Now, somewhere along the line, Essendon have lost that, and they're happy to just cruise through seasons and hope they make the finals and hope that you develop these young kids. They need to be harder on themselves internally, and maybe that's what they need to do.
They need. It'd be interesting to see how far the James Hird narrative gets down the track. Well, could you see James Hird coaching the Essendon Football Club?
No. Sorry. I can see it, but I don't think he should.
No.
Been there, done that, didn't work. Great at the game.
Joe Watson's
coach somewhere else.
Comments were pointed.
What do you reckon?
When he compared it, when he used the Tony Soprano quote and said, remember when is the lowest form of conversation. When Joe Watson said that yesterday, I thought,
and then he took out a gun.
That's a pretty strong statement.
Started
Did
shooting.
you know that? Did you hear that?
Oh.
Have you seen that? So Tony Soprano, in The Sopranos, said, remember when is the lowest form of conversation. Right. In other words, don't go backwards. Don't go back to the history.
Was that before or after they cut the head off that beautiful stallion and put it in the bed?
That's The Godfather.
All right,
You are an idiot.
Oh, mate, they're all the same.
You are an
Once
idiot.
you're Ben Rutten and you're over this trauma, because it's true trauma, this poor bastard has been raked over the coals for months. Once you get over all that, is it pretty sweet to pay out?
Yeah, he'll cop it.
What's the payout like?
Our payout's pretty good. You can do different forms of for tax minimisation. You can get a bulk up front. And you can sort of.
So what does he do? Just go on holiday?
Well, he's out on the farm out Mount Macedon way, so he'll have a bit of time to tend to the farm, but he was never going to walk of his own accord, as much as he probably didn't want to coach the Essendon Football Club after he lost the trust of everyone. After he lost the trust of the board.
Yep.
Still a great nickname
but
too.
if he walks out, trucks are, and he's a good fella too, but he's not going to walk of his own accord because he wants to get paid.
Absolutely.
If the board sacks you, you get paid. If you walk of your own accord, you don't get paid.
Okay, it feels like ages ago now, but Dane Zorko, let's get it out. Seems to be a case of blokeism.
Well, his behaviour, his leadership throughout the night was disappointing, wasn't it? So I think we've got to separate the two incidents. So his behaviour during the game, he was obviously rattled, he was hot under the collar, he was picking fights, all that sort of thing. He needed to have more calm throughout that game. Clearly, things went wrong from the get-go for the Brisbane Lions. There was that, those happenings, and that's where Chris Fagan needed. Part of the reason I think one of the advantages of coaching from the bench is you need to be able to identify that, or it needs to be communicated from the coach's box down that, hey, the skipper's hot under the collar. Have a word to him, pull him aside. And have a word to him, and don't let this continue on for the rest of the night.
But who pulls the skipper aside?
I know.
Mate, the coach.
I'll bash you.
The reason the coach stands down there, mate, ultimate authority. Now, whether Fags knew what was going on, it should have been at least passed down from the coach box and just pull him aside and say, hey, mate, that's leadership, that's coaching. And then there's a separate incident at three-quarter time.
Is he considered a really good, strong leader, Zorko?
I think he's been a fantastic captain for the Lions. Now, he cops a lot of but he's been a very consistent player. He's won about 5 best and fairest. I think he took over in a difficult circumstance from Dane Beams, and he's got them to. They played in 6 finals where I think he's been captain for 6 of them. They're 1-5, of course, their record. They lost some close finals. But, I think his record throughout has been pretty strong. Unfortunately, 2 or 3 times, he wears his heart on his sleeve. His emotions have got the better of him. And then the three-quarter time incident with Harrison Petty, that was unsavoury. But there may have been a tit-for-tit preceding that.
It was the highest form of victory, but he did apologise. Let's move on.
He did apologise, and the AFL has moved on very quickly as well. So I'm not sure exactly the word said, but there's a lot of stories flying around about the actual conversation the word said, and there's a lot of shit flying around. And the fact that the AFL didn't punish him shows me that maybe there was a bit said from the other party as well.
Yeah, right.
It's a funny one, right? Because I'm sure there's been stuff said like that before.
How far have you gone?
I wasn't.
You wouldn't be a real
massive
personal
sleeper.
person.
Nah. I was.
Personal
More of
person.
a hitter than a sledger.
Yeah, but
Tickler.
There's no doubt that worse things would have been said on a footy field, right?
Yeah.
And if it had said it to someone else, maybe they don't respond the same way. So when it's so public, Friday night, massive game, and you've got a player. I've never seen a player at three-quarter time in tears before, right? Which just caused everyone to, like a flashing red light. Oh, my God, what's happened?
I saw Rui in tears, but he'd broken his
and
collarbone when the boys attacked him.
And then the twins attacked his shoulder. Yeah. No wonder he was
I
crying.
didn't attack him. I was in the grandstand.
I said
Mel
the twins
Michael.
attacked him.
Mel Michael and Chris Scott.
I saw a dog in tears, but we're in a helicopter and his horse just lost. Back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's podcast. Now, last week, Jonathan and Brodie butted heads. And then we got an expert on to determine the winner of this argument. I don't want to go into the details because, frankly, it was boring, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that JB lost and now has to apologise sincerely, Jonathan, to our friend and producer and co-host, Brodie.
Yes, I do. Brodie, I'm deeply ashamed of my comments. The vile that I threw towards you. I'm disappointed in myself as a current day pundit who's well respected in the football world. I should understand the rules of the draft and the way they work, and especially father-son rules, because I was a father-son myself. And I helped have the rules change as a father-son and went from 50 games to 100 games. But that's another story.
That's another
I
story.
don't need to go into my career. Obviously, he went on to win 3 premierships and had a great career.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your team beat us. But back to you, Broads.
Yeah.
You are a good man. I apologise for what I said, for my hurtful comments. You don't have to babysit my kids because Brisbane beat Port Adelaide early in the year and we did have a bet running.
Wow.
And you haven't repaid that bet.
Yep.
So I now let you off the hook for that.
Wow.
And I will show greater respect to you going forward in the podcast.
Wow.
Even though to the day I die, your head will never appear on the emblem of our podcast.
Whoa!
Do you accept my apology?
Handshake.
I do.
of
Shake
hands.
my hand.
That was
50.
magnificent.
Magnificent.
That was very nice. The other big thing for the weekend, it was the showdown. It's always a big game.
Is it though?
Really?
Down here in Victoria, we don't really give a about it.
No, you do. It is the most fiercely contested game in Australia yearly.
Brodie, coming from someone who has a derby in WA, I can tell you no one gives a
12th v 14th.
Yeah, no, it's still a blockbuster and still deserving of the Saturday night time slot. But it was all about one man, and it was about the great
Koshy.
It was Koshy. Robbie Gray. Robbie Gray retired, and we love Robbie. And a legend of the game, probably Port Adelaide's greatest ever player. He's at one. He is at one. Treadray at 2. And it was sad, and even Ken Hinkley had some really nice statements and whatnot. But I thought I would prepare my own tribute. I'm going to sing.
Is he above Treadray?
He is.
Wait.
Just for standing in the game and for being a truly good person.
Wait a second, you just said you're about to do something.
I am going to sing a song to Robbie.
What do you need from us? Just silence?
Just my backing track. Thank you very much.
Okay, what's it called? Okay, I see it. All right, this is big.
271 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
called.
It's nice.
Here we go.
I remember all my life raining down as cold as ice. Shadows of a man, a face through a window, crying in the night. The night goes in, morning just another day.
What is this?
Happy people pass my way.
You lost your mind.
Looking in their eyes, I see a memory. I never realized how happy you made me. Oh, Robbie, you came and you gave without taking. shaking, but I sent you away. Oh, Robbie, you kissed me and stopped me from shaking,
Choke him out.
and I need you today. Oh, Robbie.
I'm not sure what had just happened, but
No, mate.
that was amazing.
Furthermore, your head definitely won't be on the podcast even after that.
If you went into a second verse, I reckon Dog was going to put you in one of those sleeper holds, and you just would have been good night.
You're about
Hey,
as good as some of those Masked Singer contestants.
that was beautiful, brother.
Tone
Thank
deaf.
you. It's just my tribute to Robbie. He's,
That was a man being vulnerable.
Yeah, he was. He was well respected, though. Or he's well respected, isn't he, Robbie Gray? 3-time Best and Fairest winner, 4-time All-Australian. He's a ripper. Tell you who else is respected. None other than the great Alistair Clarkson. He's on couch tonight.
What?
6:30 on the couch, encore at 8:30.
Jeez, that's a good get.
It's a big get. I can't believe that I have to go in and ask Alistair Clarkson tonight, will he come on Brownie's podcast?
Yeah, you do.
Can you believe if I deliver Alistair Clarkson before Brown Dog? Because Brown Dog's just been banging on about it all season, saying, I'll get Clark, I'm mates with Clark,
Wait.
he's my premiership coach, all that sort of stuff.
Question: are you going to ask him that live on the show or off the show?
I'll probably off the show.
Okay.
I want to saw him up and get him over the line before the show actually starts.
Next you'll say you'll get Sam Mitchell before me.
Sam Mitchell will be next week. Imagine I went Clarko into Sam Mitchell. That'd be astonishing.
How often do these people text you? Because you text them and, they respond. Does anyone actually ever text you?
Now that you've mentioned it, no, my phone hasn't pinged for a while.
JB, please do this exactly like this. So in the ad break, make sure your iPhone's recording and just say to Clarko and do it like this in this tone. Hey man, what's going on with you and Brown Dog? You guys cool? Just to try and get him to say anything about Dog.
That'll be good.
Because he's not answering any of his
hates Dog.
texts.
He
I
hates
think
Dog.
I think he
Mate,
hates
the
Dog.
reason he signed with North Melbourne was so our relationship could flourish for
Is that
another
right?
50
Yes.
years.
Is that flourish?
Flourish.
Can you please ask him like that? And
Can't wait.
And record it secretly.
Can't
and then,
wait.
and then
It's
get
gonna
him to
be
yell
sense-
out WTB Kangaroos.
So I'll do my best, boys.
Fox Footy, Channel 504.
Oh, tonight, 6:30, it'll be sensational. That'll be a great interview. I just got to clarify a story, Dog. We were just out in the hallway.
Yes.
And young Mitchell came along and said,
Who works with
Ferg,
us here at
Who works with
Brownie's
us here.
podcast.
Got a great story. Your mates from down Warrnambool way, they used to tell me that you used to go to school with a loaf of bread
Yep.
and a large chicken every single
Every day. And eat the lot.
Stuff of eat the lot. Stuff of legend. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, okay. Is that true? And no, actually, I don't think he even said, is that true? He just took it as fact.
Yep.
Took it as gospel. And me and Dog had a laugh and thought, yeah, no, I'm going to clarify this story. It's funny how stories work out, isn't it? When I went to Brisbane, which is a long time removed from school, I went to Brisbane and started the Brisbane Lions. I was so skinny, I was weighing about 87 kilos, that the weights coach at the Lions said to me, after we do a weight session, make sure you go home and buy a loaf of bread and a large chicken and eat it all up and come back the next day. And that's the way we'll put the weight on you.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 18 months. And
Oh,
I put
really?
on 15,
Every day?
Not every day, every time after weights. And I put on about 15 kilos. But had nothing to do with school.
yeah.
It's a local legend story in Warrnambool. It never happened in
Jeez,
Warrnambool.
imagine how expensive that would be if your son was eating a full roast chicken
Well, the kids
every
at
day.
school were saying not only did he eat the chicken and the bread, he ate the whole carcass, the bones and all. Man. Oh, my God.
The stuffing,
Everything.
Jesus.
Love the stuffing.
Back in a second. Welcome back to Brownie's podcast, the damn turkeys. We'll go through the 4 games coming up in 2 weeks. I can't wait for finals, but Dog, now.
I've got the most crazy what a world that I've possibly ever read.
Because the last one was What do you got today?
Okay, so there's schools right around the world in America, but now it's crept in over here into Australia, where students are identifying themselves as cats.
Yes.
Okay? Actual cats.
Yes.
And these schools are having to make special considerations for their cat students. One of them is in Brisbane, a private school, and the cat identifying student has been allowed to alter their uniform to allow a tail.
Hang on.
In the USA, there has been multiple instances where kitty litter trays have been added and installed into toilets and unisex bathrooms.
Brother, I just don't believe that this is true.
Made up.
This cannot be true.
In Idaho, there are claims that cat identifying students have been excused from doing their homework because they couldn't pick up pens due to them having paws. And
Where do
in
you find this
Texas,
shit?
It's just not true,
in
man.
Texas, cafeteria tables are being lowered so students can eat like cats and dogs,
Yes.
and they are delivering them trays and bowls of milk.
But-
This is happening right around the world.
There has been a blanket ban on them licking their own balls.
So, hey, what a world.
What do they jump out of the third floor balcony at
They,
school?
they always land on their feet.
Oh, is that right?
I've got to ask, man, have you been on shrooms? Where'd you read that? That's
Mate,
just not true.
It's,
just not true.
right across the
Right.
global landscape.
the web.
Bro,
is it?
it's right across.
It's right across. I know.
Brisbane Girls Grammar. It's a female, and
Oh, no, that's concrete.
There
No,
we
that's
go.
proof.
Yeah.
That's proof, mate.
Brown
Jury's
dog.
out. Done.
Brown dog smoking the same stuff as the Essendon boy.
All right, we're done. We've got many podcasts before the finals
Yeah.
even start. How many? We've got another 3.
well,
Yeah.
we've got the bye next week.
Yeah, oh, we look forward to Friday too. We'll get Clarko on.
That'd be huge. He won't come on.
Brownies